And welcome back to week 2 of FM17 score predictions. This is how it went last week. First result, Arsenal versus Leicester. We both got 10 points for that one. I predicted 2-1, FM predicted 5-0, and the actual score was 4-3 obviously. Neither of us got the 5 points because we were both 4 goals away from the actual result. Next up was Watford versus Liverpool. Neither of us got points for that because I predicted 2-0, FM predicted 1-0, and it was 3-3. Chelsea Burnley again, neither of us got points. Both predicted 3-0 and the actual outcome was 2-3 to Burnley. Same case with Palace and Huddersfield, both predicted 1-1 and it was actually 3-0 to Huddersfield, which was a good result for them really, wasn't it? I took home 50 points for this one because I predicted 1-0, FM predicted 0-0 and it was actually 1-0, so all the 50 points to me. Southampton Swansea, both predicted 3-1 for that and it was a disappointing 0-0, so no points there. West Brom Bournemouth, I predicted 2-1 to Bournemouth, FM predicted 2-1 to West Brom and it was 1-0, so FM picked up 10 points there. Brighton Man City, I predicted 4-0, FM 2-0 and it was 2-0, so FM got 50 points there. Anyway, Newcastle Spurs, I predicted 1-1, FM predicted 2-5 to Spurs, and the actual result was 2-0, so FM got 10 points for that one. On to the last game, Manchester United versus West Ham. I predicted 2-1, FM predicted 2-0, and it was 4-0 in the end, both getting 10 points, and FM getting an extra 5 for being 1 goal closer to the actual result. Let's get on to this week's predictions then, shall we? FM clinching it there in the first week with 95 points, whereas I only got 80 points, but I'm determined to claw it back. So here are my predictions for this week. First of all, we have Swansea versus Manchester United. Swansea were absolutely battered by Southampton last week, and the only reason they kept a clean sheet was because Southampton was so impotent in front of goal really. Like they had over 20 shots. Only 2 of them were on target, so not great. United looked pretty good against West Ham to be honest, but to be fair, West Ham allowed that to happen. They were just allowing United to play how they wanted to play really. Whereas I think Swansea tend to be up for these sorts of games, but I really can't see where they're going to get the goals from. Therefore, I think Swansea 0, Man United 2. Shall we see what FM predicts? Pogba out to Valencia on this right hand side, who crosses it into Lukaku and he makes it 1-0 Manchester United. Routledge with the free kick and it's in, it's 1-1. FM predicts Swansea 1, Man United 1. So the first of the 3 o'clock kickoffs on Saturday is Bournemouth versus Watford. I feel like Bournemouth's opening day loss will push them on to taking advantage of Watford's evident defensive frailties. But I do feel Watford have enough in them for this game. So I'm going for Bournemouth 1, Watford 1. Let's see what FM predicts. Amrabat through to Deeney and he puts it in the top corner. It's 1-0 to Watford. Pereira with the free kick. What a free kick. 2-0 Watford. Daniels swings it in. Cook down to Afobe and it's in the back of the net. 2-1. FM predicts Bournemouth 1, Watford 2. And the next game up is Burnley versus West Brom. From the outside looking in, this game looks like it could be a low scoring one, but I've done a little bit of research, and actually in the last 10 games between these two sides, the average goals have been 3.7 goals per game. You would not expect that from Burnley and West Brom, would you? Burnley played some really nice football against Chelsea actually, and I can't really see past them. So I'm predicting Burnley 2, West Brom 1. Let's see what FM predicts for this game. And next up we have Leicester versus Brighton. Leicester's defensive frailties were a bit evident against Arsenal, but they've got huge scoring potential really, especially with Jamie Vardy in form again. Brighton looked the opposite to be honest. They were pretty defensively sound until like the last half an hour against Man City, but I don't really know where the goals are going to come from. So I think Brighton are going to keep it tight, but eventually Leicester will break them down. So I'm going for Leicester 1, Brighton 0. On to FM's prediction. Fuchs with the free kick and it's right into the top corner. Leicester 1, Brighton 0. And FM predicts Leicester 1, Brighton 0, exactly the same as me. And on to the next 3 o'clock kickoff in Liverpool versus Crystal Palace. Both teams looking pretty poor defensively in their opening games of the season, both conceding 3 goals. Not great, is it? Crystal Palace are usually Liverpool's bogey team, aren't they? I think they've beaten them a couple of times, especially that 3-3 in that famous season. It's good, that. Anyway, I think Liverpool's win midweek against Hoffenheim will give them a bit of momentum going into this game, so I think it will be Liverpool 2, Crystal Palace 1. Let's see what Football Manager thinks. Flanagan on the right hand side, into Roberto Firmino, and he slots it in. It's Liverpool 1, Crystal Palace 0. And that is how they predict the game will end. And the last game of the 3 o'clock kickoffs on Saturday, Southampton versus West Ham. So Southampton had over 20 shots with only 2 on target, so they're definitely going to be working on that part of their game in training. And West Ham were very submissive against United in that game, but I can't really see that happening again. So I'm going with a high scoring draw of Southampton 2, West Ham 2. Shall we see what FM predicts? Lanzini through to Chicharito, and he slots it in the back of the net. It's 1-0 West Ham. Tadic, Ward-Prowse through to Gabbiadini, and he puts it past the goalkeeper to make it 1-1. Chicharito, Snodgrass into Obiang. He puts it in the back of the net to make it 2-1. Gabbiadini out to Redmond, and he puts it into the near post to make it 2-2. Davis swings it in. Gabbiadini, Stevens at the back stick to make it 3-2. Davis, Stevens to Long, and he makes it 4-2. FM predicts Southampton 4, West Ham 2. And we go on to the late kick-off between Stoke and Arsenal. Stoke really didn't threaten offensively against Everton, but I feel like they might take advantage of Arsenal's evident weaknesses in the back line. I'm going pretty controversial here, but history suggests that Stoke do hold their own when they host Arsenal. Therefore, I'm saying Stoke 2, Arsenal 1. Let's get on to FM and see what they think. Berahino, and he puts it in the back of the net. It's 1-0 Stoke. Lacazette down this left hand side. Swings it into Giroud and he slots it in. 1-1. Ozil swings it in. Mertesacker to Lacazette, and it's 2-1 Arsenal. FM predicts the final score, Stoke 1, Arsenal 2. And for the first game on Sunday, we have 2 promoted sides, Huddersfield versus Newcastle. Huddersfield's opening game of the Premier League was quite a convincing 3-0 against Crystal Palace, although I wasn't convinced. Not that Newcastle convinced me at all against Spurs, but I think they may nick this one. So I'm saying Huddersfield 1, Newcastle 2. What does FM predict though? Into the back stick to Kachunga, and it's 1-0 Huddersfield. Mitrovic through to Ayoze Perez, and he smashes it into the back of the net. It's 1-1. Depoitre to Palmer. He has a dig from long range and makes it 2-1 to Huddersfield. And FM predicts Huddersfield 2, Newcastle 1. And for the late game on the Sunday, we have a big one. It's Spurs versus Chelsea. Spurs were lacking in creativity until the sending off against Newcastle, but I think they're going to be up for this one. And I think Chelsea are on the beginning of a downturn after their 3-2 loss against Burnley. Therefore, I'm predicting Spurs 1, Chelsea 0. Let's see what FM predicts. Kane through to Eriksen. He puts it in the back of the net. It's 1-0 Tottenham. Kane steps up for the penalty. Coolly slots it in the top corner. Tottenham 2, Chelsea 0. Eriksen running through the middle here. Kane through to Dyer, and he smashes it into the back of the net to make it 3-0 Tottenham. Son to Kane. Oh, what a lovely goal. It's 4-0 Tottenham. And the final whistle goes 4-0 Tottenham. And for some Monday night football, we have Man City versus Everton. For all Man City had the ball versus Brighton, they didn't really do much with it until like there was half an hour left. When they made that change, Danilo for Sané, they seemed to get a bit better. Everton are set up quite defensively under Koeman as well, and I don't see much scoring potential in them really. So in my opinion, it will be Man City 1, Everton 0. Let's see what Football Manager predicts. Aguero with the penalty. Slots it home and it's 1-0 Man City. Silva on this left hand side. Low drill to Aguero, 2-0. Nasri. Oh, lovely ball to Aguero and he finishes off his hat-trick, and it's Man City 3, Everton 0. And that finishes the game, Man City 3, Everton 0. Here is a quick recap of all the predictions for this week's Premier League fixtures. Thank you for watching, like and subscribe, and let me know if you prefer this format of video.